Cosmic here, welcome back to another Chaos Zero Nightmare video, and today is Yuki Day. We're finally getting into it, and so in today's video, we're going to be going over our pulls, seeing how lucky we can get. Maybe we win the 50-50, maybe we don't. Going over her kit, how I'm going to build her day one, and then also give you the team comps that I recommend to dive in with so you can start as strong as possible day one with Yuki. But with out of the way, let's get into this and see how many pulls it takes. And we're going to go through this fast, just knock out the 4 stars if we can. All right, not lucky on 10. I'm going to get so many of this guy. So, spoiler, I did skip Lucas because I do think he's bait. I think the 3 other pairings are just way better. All right, we got to go for 20. All right, we're not gonna win the early gambles, it seems like. All right, another partner, sure. We're gonna go with 30. So I got Haru at 50, so karma says I gotta be a little unlucky on this one. Oh, 30? I said 30, right? Right? This would, come on, let me just get early and be fine. Dude, I love you. I'm sorry, I'm not here for you right now. I'm not. Oh my God, he's gonna hate me for not including him in this. Woo! 30, baby. Oh, you love to see it. Easy, 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 easy. We're out. 30 pull Yuki. We are done. So we got what, 2 4 stars plus Yuki there? Easy, easy streamer luck. We take that. Wow, absolutely insane, right? We'll take, yeah, that was 30 because that was 114. So cool. All right, well, let's dive in. Let's actually look at her complete kit now, because it wasn't all spoiled during the patch notes. So we're gonna look at this together in real time, and then we'll get into the team builds, right? And then in a future video, I'll go over chaos runs and everything, but we are doing this live, so we are gonna just dive right in. So Yuki, as we know, she is a more AoE focused character with her kit. And her whole mechanic is that you want to draw cards. Like, nothing else matters. You want to draw as many cards as possible to trigger her inspiration, which we'll get into in the individual cards. So it does make sense that with her ego skill, you move all attack cards of this unit in hand to the top of the draw pile. It's going to do more damage for however many you move. So the way to think about this is basically a get out of jail free card effectively, right? Let's say you draw your opening 5 and it's just an absolute terrible hand, but you have like 2 draw effects. So with Yuki's ego skill, what you want to do is pop the ego skill. Maybe you have like 3 attacks that you're putting back on top of the deck. Great, it's going to do 450% damage. Then using your various cards from Veronica, like the Repose, or you're going to have Mika, who's going to draw you extra cards through all the neutrals that we'll talk about shortly, and then draw all those cards to get the various effects. Again, the inspiration can be from cost reduction to more damage amplification. It just depends on how you want to build her. So again, we will have to go through the potentials and level all that stuff up. We are just looking at base values here. So 2 attacks and a shield, pretty standard for our more striker focused characters. We have prepare to subdue. So draw 1 attack cards of this unit, increase damage amount of those cards by 20% for 1 turn. So a great way, 0 cost, get your inspirations. So what do we have for her effects? So we have retain, draw 1, and changes it to plus 40. So very good for just deck thinning, comboing it, making sure you're getting your damage on the right turns. Draw 1 amount of attack cards of this unit. So this is going to buff your entire turn worth of spamming. Well, those are actually both really good so far. Draw 2 attack cards of this unit. Decrease damage amount of those cards by 20%. That's not that much of a drawback for, her attack cards in particular. Draw 1, increase damage amount by 20% for 1 turn. Okay, and then inspiration, right? So that's the keyword. If you were to draw this card outside of your starting draw for that turn, draw 1 attack cards of this unit. So this is a purely combo. Again, drawing multiple cards, inspiration, heavy focus character. Then draw 1 attack cards of this unit at the start of the next turn. Draw 1 attack cards of this unit. Okay, I am a sucker for We'll have to look at all the attack cards in particular, but much like Luke's bullet generation skill, right? Most of the time, what you want to be doing is splitting up the consistency so you're having more damage turn over turn and not just having these high peaks and then very low moments as well. So if you have enough draw power, I think you're going to want the fourth option here just because it gives you the option for still drawing the card, getting the neutral effect, and then potentially drawing an extra card. I really like 4 and 5 the most here, depending on which way it's going to lean. So for Prepare to Subdue, I would go with 4 or 5. We have then Flash Slash. That's going to be awful to say. 180% AoE, decrease cost by 1. So we have a damage increase. We have a decrease cost by 2. Okay, I do like free stuff. We have a hit +1. Hit stuff is always insane, by the way, for how it works with the modifiers in this game. So I hate that it's a 2 cost. Like, that would work with some Celestial stuff, I guess. Retain 320% damage plus 60% damage amount for each drawn card of this unit for 1 turn. Max 3 would be 180, so 400. So it's a 500 damage. Oh, single target, though. Wait. AoE. Single target. And then, okay, well, so interesting. This one, you're definitely going to want to say, am I doing AoE content or am I doing single target content? So single target, obviously this retain is going to be your best because it is just a flat damage. Based on the way damage buffs work, inspiration +1 hit should be the better option. For those who like missed the, there's a great video on YouTube, and now I'm blanking on their name, but my original damage calculation was wrong. I copied something wrong off Pridewin. So the +1 hit here should be the best option. Again, we'll have to wait and see what other damage amplification stuff that she has. But the last 3 are definitely the best options. But again, single target, really great. AoE for multiple waves of a fight. I do like this last one, but hopefully stuff is dying before this cost reduction ever really matters for this last one. So for me personally, I am going to guess that 3 or 4 is the correct option here. Trickery Strike. Retain. I love retain cards. 100%, 50% damage. Activate Inspiration for 1 random card of this unit in hand. Okay, well, now it's going to get tricky, right? So we had... Oops, wrong one. Let me go back. So yeah, because the inspiration versus cost. So like, oh, this is interesting. I like the idea of making Flash Slash free. Inspiration getting an additional hit is insane, actually. So yeah, never mind. I'm leaning towards that way now instead. Let's see what the rest of them do. Choose 1 cards in hand. Okay, I already know what I'm building. Retain, Retrieve. 180% damage. Activate Inspiration for 1 random card. Activate Inspiration for all cards of this unit in hand. 150% damage. Draw 1 card that have Inspiration effect. So really good if you're doing like okay, so I'm getting it now. There is like a 1 cost build if you want to use the 35% damage, critical damage increase for Yuki. I definitely see the very obvious painting on the wall now for wanting to build that. And then inspiration, decrease cost by 1. Yeah, I don't know. I really, the way modifiers work, I'm definitely leaning towards being able to choose and just stacking the multiple hits for your Flash Slash. I'm going to struggle with that so much. AoE, just because of how insanely strong multi-hit is with the current buffs in the game. And then we have Freezing Blade, unique. Okay, so no copy shenanigans, breaking my heart. When using a card of this unit with an activated inspiration, 60% damage to all enemies. All right, so Kairon's effect on drugs instead, and just way better. 90% when using a card with an activated inspiration, 60%. Okay, but it's free. No Outbreak of War, though. Shoot. When using a card with this unit, 130% damage to a random enemy. Okay, so again, I really do like that she does have single target baked into her kit and AoE, even though so much of the dev videos and everything was AoE focused. I think she does actually fit a good spot now for single target as well. Having this kind of stuff be a higher multiplier can be really nice if you're doing like a solo boss kill. Increased damage amount of attack cards of this unit that target all enemies. Okay, again, so we're buffing, yeah, we're buffing the inspiration. So flash slash inspiration +1 is going to be her best card. And then unique at the start of the turn, activate inspiration for 1 random cards of this unit in hand. Oh, that's so... Okay, so she has a couple different builds, but the Freezing Blade, the fact that this is just going to be like a 90 to 120% on top of all the other buffs that you're going to get through critical damage and stuff. Ooh, yeah, I think it's 3 and 4 here for me. Like, understanding if we're going to be doing an AoE build or if we're doing a pure single target where the random enemy doesn't matter, right? Like, it is always going to go towards the boss. These are now the 2 builds. So, very clear that we have AoE versus single target baked into this. Then lastly, we have Iceberg Cleave, 180% damage to all enemies. Inspiration, add 1 hit, decrease damage amount by 20%. You don't care, right? You're happy to stack this up and get multi-hits. So, very interesting. So, lots of multi-hit applications that are really going to want to get buffs. Lots of... Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Outbreak of War is swapped to Initiation. I'm like, why does this card cost 0? That one was bothering me. Right. Outbreak of War is now Initiation. This one... I don't think I missed it on any other card as I was going through it. Or it'd only be the upgrade. Where was the other upgrade? Didn't Subdue have one? Nope. Okay. So, that's fine. I'm not the biggest fan of the 0 cost. Like, there's so much better value. If you're doing like a short wave focused, the 0 cost Freezing Blade is really good, right? But for me personally, I really like the 1 cost upgrade. So now that I'm seeing this again, I could see a case for this. It just depends on what type of wave content that we are going to get. And then we will dive into all of the other characters, but one thing to keep in mind is that you have 2 different options here when it comes to the partners. So we have one that's going to be 1 cost focus and the other one that is going to be 2 cost focus. That's going to ultimately come down to your build and which way you want to take that. Let's look at her potentials really quick. Decrease cost of longsword slash and then increase damage amount of rapid slash by 30. That is her basic. So, okay, that is fine. And then 5% damage amount of Yuki's longsword slash and rapid slash. So nice to see damage amplifications. And then if Yuki's attack is greater than 600 plus 5% damage amount to flash slash and iceberg cleave for every 80 attack above 500, add an additional, I'm assuming that's meant to be say 600, add 1 additional plus 1% to the modifier max 5. So a 10% boost is also pretty fine overall. Now, the one thing I do want to go back to is memory fragments, will wait till later, is just showing off all of the ego manifestations, right? So we have removed the decreased damage amount of the iceberg cleave, which is nice. At the start of battle, activate inspiration for cards of this unit drawn at the start of the turn for 2 turns. So really important to note here, because this is the one that I want to make a note on, right? When we had Haru's E2, I was very worried because Haru E2 is definitely unlocking a brand new playstyle. Absolutely insane, like changes the character, and makes a very good deal for why you might want to consider E2 in that case. However, for Yuki, while it is still very good, right, you can get around this by just, like, let's think about the hyper-basin content, right? You can get around this E2 by just resetting and refreshing that run and waiting until you have the perfect hand. So this one is much more of like a quality of life improvement over a strictly Haru became like a whole new beast with her E2. So good news, bad news is now we have no idea which way that this is going to lean from a balancing perspective, but you know, at least I'm happy to see that it's not having as much of impact for Yuki as it did for Haru. Increasing the ego skill damage, going up to a plus 80, which is nice. Sword Dance is just going to be an attack percentage buff that we've seen. The generic plus 3 skills. And then the last one is the Sword Dance, again, goes from a 10% buff to a 15% buff. So now we're going to get into the actual team comps for Yuki that I would recommend, how to build them. And well, let's actually just take a minute to talk about the difference in chaos mode farming with Yuki versus how you're actually using the save data. As people have been playing the game and going through the content and trying to get the best save data possible, I have still seen that a lot of people don't know about or follow the principle of just duo walking, or a duo queuing as I call it, any of your characters to get the best save data. So the example that I'm just going to give here is that we have Yuki and we have Mika being the two key characters in this instance, right? You have your hyper carry damage dealer. So Yuki is just going to be the example because she's a new character and we also want to get save data for her, but obviously use the elemental advantage if you can for whatever chaos you are trying to farm. Mika overall is just the band-aid. Let's call it like it is, right? She has a bunch of healing. She has AP fixing early on, which can help your units before you get your epiphanies. And then for that third slot, I have literally taken a level 20 character through difficulty 10-0 system just to get save data. It literally does not matter who that third character is. It can be anyone that you want to get save data with. Now, spoiler that we got to talk about, Nia is the best character here to match with Yuki for all the reasons that I'll explain shortly. And then for me personally, I can't recommend Lucas. I know the official stream said to use Lucas, but I think the 3 other options that you have are just significantly better in every single way. I do understand that there's a synergy between Nia's discard and what Lucas can do, but everyone has Barrel as a free character, and that is just going to be strictly better in my opinion, based on the snack time draws you can get, or not snack time, but the other one, Guilty Pleasure, for the draw mechanic to just give you way more value with understanding that Yuki is going to be our hyper carry. So with that, I'm going to talk about each one of the characters really quickly as we're going over them. So the one thing I will say is, I'll just get my head out of here shortly, is that for each one of our memory fragments, you are going to notice that these are pretty generic for either if you're running a support or you're running a ranger. Now, something I do want to keep in mind that is, because we are recording this like day 1 of the season, there are going to be some neutral cards that might change this up. There might be new divines, what have you, right? So do take this with a grain of salt, but at least for a day 1 build, this is what I would be recommending for what save data that I am trying to target. Now, G-Cord, I know there's been a lot of, debate about this because I covered it in my last video, but the important part about this is that we are just trying to churn through our deck as fast as possible, find Yuki's cards, so when we're able to trigger a draw card off the top of our deck, even if we have to mill Yuki's damage cards in some situations, is going to be better if we already milled like her key attack card for that turn. So do keep in mind, as you're playing this, it is going to be correct to focus on a deck cycle instead of focusing on damage. And that is just going to be a, player skill that you're going to have to adjust for playing Yuki. For Mute Accent, I really do like this one for activating 1 card with the lowest cost. We do know that it can combo with her Flash Slash that can go down to from 2 to 0. So if you have that, style in your deck, then you can just get a free attack while also healing, which is really nice. For Soul Rip, I picked 5 here just for the sake of it's a upgrade, so it gets out of our deck. And then because we are going to be discarding so many cards, we are able to ramp up into that Decimal Payoff so that we can do some extra damage when we do end up shuffling our deck. For her legendary skill, the Adagio, the draw to discard to, it does put it on top of deck, which is really nice because keep in mind, if you have more than enough AP and maybe you're using Mika, just putting that back on top of the deck for the next turn, or maybe you're trying to put some draws back on top of your decks for the next turn so you can draw the right Yuki cards, that can help out a ton. So this is really just more of a setup card. And then lastly is Nia's Curiosity. I just want to add a call out here for, we talked about it previously, but we did get 4 copies of this to save in our deck at difficulty 10. And this is truly going to be the best card as long as you have Nia's E1 skill. The fact that you're able to always select the right card while also getting the discard value, assuming that you have Dimensional Cube, this now becomes something that helps you cycle your deck. You're getting extra damage off of Nia's ability. You're getting extra damage from having Dimensional Cube, and you're always getting to pick still the right card that you want to be using. So Nia's Curiosity is really just the overdrive of everything that you're going to want in this deck. Now, of course, for neutrals, and again, this is going to be same for controllers, we just want all the stuff that can draw our cards, or in the case of attack, it is going to find the 1 attack card that we want. Now, again, the one disclaimer that I want to add here is that we are still waiting to see exactly how this save data works out as the Chaos season goes on. So I am putting a note here to skip the weapon because it does count towards the overall save data value. At least it did in season 1 per what we've seen people calculate in the Discord. So supporters really don't get a lot of value from this. However, the two things I do want to say to look out for, because we are getting a void-based chaos, I'm going to assume that Fragment of the Empty Void is going to drop again, but you only need one of these per team. Water Drops of the Goddess is going to give you storage or save in this case, which is going to give you the AP to carry over into your turn 2, and you only need one of those per team as well. And then lastly, Clover of the Forest. This actually comes from Swamp, so we don't know what type of trinket slot that we're going to really have, right, for accessibility and for what supporters can use, but just look for the plus 10% ally buff for your characters so that you're giving the most amount of damage boosting to Yuki as possible. Cassius, a lot of the same. Again, this does not change. The supporter stuff is going to be the exact same. With Cassius, the name of the game is draw, baby. We just want to draw all the cards we can. So for the quest, I do recommend getting the selector one so that you can always get full house. It's just going to be more draw. Devil Dice, it's not always going to do damage for you, and that's not really the point. It is a zero-cost draw that's going to help us find the Yuki pieces, which I very strongly recommend. Shuffle, again, this is largely going to come down to which version of it you're going to want for Yuki, and which, you know, if you're going for single target versus AoE, what have you. But I like the one that just lets us choose, right? The downside of Shuffle is that it does have a cost to it, so that will be a drawback for a lot of hands where we don't have the extra AP. Maybe there'll be a case where you want to run the neutral card on Yuki that generates AP just to help streamline some of her turns, but the Shuffle is definitely the one that I'm the least confident on. And then Dice Trick 5. On quest completion, create a quest card. This is really nice because it can be full house to draw some more cards. It can be the straight, which is going to give us a morale buff, which is going to be even more buffs for Yuki. Just really nice to see overall. And same thing again for the neutrals. Same pool of cards. The gear comment here is also going to be the same. Now, getting into our sub DPS, maybe you want a little bit more damage. So again, this part is going to change a little bit. But now we're getting more into the piece of, hey, what if I just want a little bit more damage for the content? Maybe because I'm trying to do something in a certain amount of turns, but I don't want to lose out on any of the draw capability. Well, as everyone knows, Veronica is one of my favorite characters in the game because she just does insane damage, by the way, while also having one of the best draw cards in the game. So for the Ballista, I am going to recommend Giant Ballista just because Yuki is so AoE focused, but just like Yuki, you're going to want two different save files for Veronica. You're either going to want the Enhanced Ballista, which is going to be your single target one, or you're going to want the Giant Ballista, which is going to be for your more AoE mobs. So do keep that in mind, but I just made her AoE for the sake of this, just to focus on what's going to be the most important part. Repose, of course, the draw 2. If you get the Divine, you get to draw 3. It's absolutely insane. Not much needs to be said about that. For the Pendant, we are just upgrade focused, wanting to make sure that we're getting the reload, damaging, increasing for our ballistas. And then Sir Kowalski, always take the draw 2. Again, the name of the game here is making sure that we are drawing as much as possible. And if you're extra lucky, you will get the Divine that is going to reduce the cost, which is really, really nice. Now for memory fragments, there was a kind of update to this because Pridewind updated the formula and some other stuff on the website, and then also through some damage calculations that were in the Discord, is that, very long story short, 4-piece bonus sets are a trap. So this last slot, because we just don't have enough 2-piece sets yet, I put health just for survivability. You could put the basic cards. Put whatever you want, right? I'm not going to tell you what's right. Just put whatever your best sub-stat matching pieces are in this slot until you get to a spot where you can actually farm a lot of these 2-piece breakdowns. Because again, these are awful to farm for just because they are going to be split across multiple different zones. So do keep that in mind. For neutrals, as I talked about with Nia's skill, I really do love precision aim. It's a free draw, it's free damage, but also more importantly, it allows us to set up those draw cards back to the top of our deck so we can have those crazy combo potential turns on the next one if needed. Quick Shelling, 0 cost, draw card. Really don't need much more to say about that. And the one I do want to call out is Quick Draw. Look, I know a lot of people love this neutral in particular, but I'm sorry, I don't like it for this case because, again, Yuki is going to be our main damage dealer, so we are going to want to focus on just giving her as much damage as possible and focus on deck thinning and setting up our turn 1 with all the upgrades or the other Outbreak of Wars or now initiation effects that we might have, right? So do keep that in mind. I'm not a fan of Quick Draw. There might be some single target applications where it might be beneficial, but at least for how the devs hyped up Yuki and for the content we can expect, AoE is going to be the focus where a Mark 1 just doesn't cut it. It's just not good enough. Now for gear, this one does matter a little bit more. Extra attack damage is going to buff her ballistas, which is really important. For the Amphoros Cube, we do know this one is a generic drop, so you will be able to find this in the new Chaos. So just a plus 25% flat additive bonus is really nice to her ballistas. And then for Shield of the Watcher, I don't remember if this one is generic or not, honestly, but very long story short, just take any shield or armor piece, I should say, that gives you some amount of damage increase, doesn't matter who it is, right? So this one will probably change based on whatever the new seasonal content is, but that is at least going to be the flex spot that I would recommend. And then lastly, we have Beryl, which falls into more of the same. Again, the substat prioritization does stay the same overall. And this one is going to follow the same principle of, hey, we want a sub DPS, but the one thing to note here in particular is that Beryl does have a card that can boost Yuki's attack cards, and it has to be the right unlimited firepower, which, again, Pridewind doesn't distinguish these on the website, but if I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, it is the plus 80% attack card damage that is going to buff Yuki. So what's really nice here, as we think about those multi-hit applications we talked about, this would then be a 160% or a 240% damage increase off a single card, which is pretty crazy. But I still think overall, if we think about a turn over turn, Veronica is still going to out damage Beryl, but this is a very, very nice 4-star addition to consider. Now, again, we are trying to, the deck thinning is the name of the game here. So for Beryl, I do recommend the retain for extra attack, which then allows us to use second method as well, which is really nice. Guilty pleasure, again, draw 3 immediately is really nice. And then draw 2 on the next turn is going to allow you to trigger those inspirations. So this is just all gas, no brakes, going through and just getting as much draw power as possible as you're going through it. And then we have Charge Shot. Again, I really love Retain for the sake of deck thinning here, which is really nice. And it just gets to a point where you're just stacking that damage up, and you can save it for that execution turn that you really need to, where you just get a nice 420% damage boost, because, again, you are going to be building these as a sub DPS, so that will be a good amount of damage that you can just pop off on a turn, or maybe kill it, add with it, if you really need to. But, you know, 420% free damage, or excuse me, 2 costs can really help out, clear out a add where you really need it to, or you could choose one of the other ones that do reduce the cost if you want to do the free version instead. So that is a quick breakdown of both Yuki's kit and the 3 different characters that I would recommend partnering with her. Again, I had all those team breakdowns up front. So let me know, are you excited for Yuki? Will you be pulling on her? Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But until next time, my friends, stay safe, stay hydrated, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.